So I get a couple questions asking, how do I photograph large groups of people? I can't get them in focus. It's always blurry. Only some are in focus, like the ones in front. But how the heck do I do it? I'm here to give you some great tips on how to get sharp images with large groups of people. And I'm not talking about just like, one row or two rows of people. I'm talking about large groups of people. It's not as hard as you think, but it will take some preparation. Let's do this. Before we even talk about any type of gear and settings or anything like that, we got to talk about how to pose, and it's actually not as hard as you think. If you have a small group of people, this is much easier, like I'd say probably under 5 or 6 people, sometimes a little more if you're doing a bridal party or you're doing the whole ceremony type of thing. It's easier because you can get them to stand in the line, you can use the same f-stop without having to worry about getting people to fall out of focus, quick example, so something like that. So if it's something like this, you're fine. You have it easy, everything like that. That's all you can do. Smack the mic. So with something like that, it's very, very, very simple. But when you have large groups of people, it's actually more difficult. But it's not if you actually think about it. So the rule of thumb is you want to stack. Basically, you want to create shape. You want to create dimension. So what you do is you basically line up. Once again, it all varies about how many people you have. So if you have like 15, 20 people, I think, in this photo, oh man, I don't even know. 1, 2, whatever. You got to create dimension. So you create a front line, you create a back line, you create a top line, and that's how you do it. You create some form of shape, and that way it gives something, and that way you can basically see everyone. This was a tight space in this one, so you see everything, and you know what you want. Now the big things you like to see, and as we can look in here, the hands. Well, the majority of the guys are in the back because that's the way they kind of wanted it to look anyway. This was about, look at their hands. They're not clenched or anything like that. They're all relaxed. That's a huge thing. Guys, for some reason, tend to clench their hands when they're doing a photo, especially if it's by their side. You'll see it like this. That's no good. That just doesn't look relaxed. You look stressed. See, everyone looks more open. Maybe not this guy. Just kidding. But yeah, you always want to watch the hands or everything like that. And for females, it's the jewelry. Watch the clasps. And if you don't know what that is, the clasp is the connection point of how to, connect the necklace and how to put it on. So if you have that perfectly and everything like that, yeah, you also have to watch wardrobe. Yes, it's our job. Make sure the shirts look good. Make sure they look tucked in. This gentleman right here had all of these unbuttoned. I said, you make it look a little better. Would you mind? And he goes, oh, no problem. So that is all stuff you have to keep in mind. I would also recommend shooting wider, not trying to get too tight, and also it leaves room for printing. That's one of the main reasons why you would do that. Now, next question you're going to ask, how do you get everyone in clear focus? The depth must have been really, really large. Well, that's absolutely true because the depth was large. I was just shooting at I think I was at about an f11 on this shot. And to give you an example, I was probably at about an f4, f4.5 on this shot because they're not stacked. There's not that much depth difference. I mean, there's a huge depth difference. This, I needed all of this in focus, like something like that. With this shot, I only needed this much in focus. So that, once again, your f-stop will vary. There is no set number being asked, oh, well, should I just always use an f11? Well, I mean, if you want to be safe, yeah, go for it. But once again, you don't always need to. So you're going to have to use a larger aperture. I mean, a smaller aperture like an start at about f8, go to f11 and f16, etc., and go from there. And I recommend actually being on continuous shot. And no, that's not because I'm a spray and pray shooter. It's because you want to make sure there's no blinking. And with 20 different people or something like that, you're gonna get some blinking. So that way you may take 4 or 5 or 6 frames of them looking at you, smiling, looking all nice, and that way you should have at least probably 2 or 3 where there's at least everyone is not blinking at one time. So it's something that's really, really important, and I would actually really recommend that. Now, the one huge problem, people, is your angle. Now, a lot of people will shoot from down below and you have everyone looking down at you. Well, that could create a cool effect, I guess. You're missing out on it. I'd recommend getting some form of step stool. They're not that expensive. You can get them for under $30, but they're really essential in the shooting group shots, so that way you get everyone on your on the same eye level. Once again, it's how it is. It's how you create something better. And if I was standing down on the floor, I was like 2 rungs up on a step ladder for this one and everything like that. You get the elevation, you get the angle, and the rule of thumb is that if they can see your lens, they can see you. But as I said, for something like this, smaller shot, it's something easier because you're not worrying about people trying to look. You're not trying to about worrying getting different eye lines from different angles. So get elevation. It's so much better. Now for lighting, what do I do for lighting? And it's really interesting. As I said, I'll show you. For something like this, I use my continuous lights. So I set up my 3 lights. I had one here. I wanted a kicker in the back on the far left, back here, pointing down at them. There was actually this huge window on the side here. You know, obviously, you could see this over here, here, and here, and I filled in the rest with 2 more lights coming from the front, giving more of an angle from the left on the right side, and that's what filled it in. That's why the shadows are more even, and that's why it looks like, oh, it's a little more crisp and everything like that. So that's my lighting for inside. If I'm outside, I will take my strobes. I have umbrellas and softboxes, and I could fill in shadows that way if I want to, and use the sun as a backlight. Once again, you just balance out the ambient light. So after that, you're pretty much good. You have them set up. You took the shots. Everything looks good. They look good. Boom. One of the huge issues is that people will try to take a photo as you're taking one. So that could take away from, you know, people trying to pay full attention to you, to looking directly at you, to them. So what I do is I kind of barricade myself anyway, where my lights and my step stool set up to where it's actually hard to see the group. I just tell everyone around me, hey, I'm here to do my job. Let me take my photos first. I'll actually leave them posed for you for a minute, so that way you can get your cell phone photos or your iPad photos, which are ridiculous. You get them, that's it. We'll move on. But remember, I got to take my photos first, and it's not sounding conceited or anything like that. They understand, but they just have to be aware, so that way they're not trying to snap, just photos. Oh, gee, look over here. So that way, they know who's in charge. Make sure everyone who needs to be in the photo is there. Everyone might say, oh, we need Uncle Jim over here. And then we start to get in, we start to pose everyone. And then, bam. Or they might not mention them at all. You should go to the people and ask who needs to be in a photo. That way, so you can get Uncle Jim from the bar to come over here. And there you go. Learn those couple things. Go out there and shoot. Just try multiple forms of people. Even if you can only do it with 2 friends, have one friend stand in front, and have one other friend stand like 2 rows back where someone would be. That way, if both are in focus, it would be the same exact thing for a portrait. That's all I got. If you guys have any questions, please let them know. Please write them down below. Be more than happy to help you out. Eric Rossi, the guy with the eye. Get sharp group photo portraits.